Hi, kindergartners. It's Mrs. Scarron here, and I'm here today to teach you my last video lesson. Today, it's going to be on making meaning, which we haven't done in a really long time. So we're going to be looking at the last lesson that we would have been doing if we were at school for making meaning. And we're going to read a really great story by Helen Lester and illustrated by Lynn Mussinger called A Porcupine Named Fluffy. And I actually had this book a long time ago when I first started teaching, and I actually still have my own copy, and I read it to my students all the time. So I'm so excited to be able to read this to you today. So the first thing I want to ask you before we read this story is, what do you know about porcupines? Because this story, title is A Porcupine Named Fluffy, and this is Fluffy. So turn and talk with someone in the room with you about what you know about porcupines. Okay, well, some of the things that I know about porcupines, and you might be thinking the same thing, is that I know that porcupines have quills, and those are those really pointy things that stick out of their body. So if I were to write here, porcupines, one of the things I know about them is they have quills. So if we were to make our list, that'd be one of the things I would put down. What's something else you might have thought? Well, some of you might say that porcupines are an animal. And that is very true. They are an animal. In fact, they are a mammal. So we have an animal, and more specific, they are a mammal. Very cool. All right. What else do you know about porcupines? Well, some of you might have said they live in the woods. And that's true. They live in forests. They live sometimes even in your backyard, depending on if you have somewhere cozy for them to stay. And another final thing you might learn about porcupines is porcupines have 4 legs. So they are a 4-legged animal. Okay. Now, there are many other things that we can write down on our list, and I'm sure you had some other really great ideas, but we'll keep our list to just that for now. Okay. So the next thing I want you to think about is, what does the word fluffy mean? So some of you are saying squishy. Some of you might be saying furry. Some of you might be saying fuzzy. Yeah, fluffy is something that's really thick and kind of puffy, and it's got a lot of cushion to it if you were to squeeze it. And so that is what this porcupine's name is. Fluffy. So something that's very soft and squishy and has a lot of cushion. So we'll soon see if that's a good name for this porcupine or not. So I'm going to read this story to you, and I'll stop at some of the vocabulary, and we'll also stop and ask some questions along the way. So this is A Porcupine Named Fluffy by Helen Lester and illustrated by Lynn Mussinger. When Mr. and Mrs. Porcupine had their first child, they were delighted. Now he needed a name. And delighted means that they were very happy, very pleased. And there's their baby right there in the carriage. Should they call him Spike? No, Spike was too common. And common means that it was very ordinary. And a lot of people knew that name, and probably a lot of porcupines had that name. So they said, nah, we're not going to name it that. Should they call him Lance? No, Lance was too fierce. And fierce means it was like really dangerous or terrible, and they didn't like that name for their little boy. Should they call him Needle Rooser? No, Needle Rooser was too long. Prickles, Pokey, Quillin? Then together they had an idea. Let's call him Fluffy. It's such a pretty name, Fluffy. There's Fluffy. But soon there came a time when Fluffy began to doubt that he was Fluffy. So that means that he was kind of uncertain. Doubt means that you're uncertain about something. He first became suspicious when he backed into a door and stuck fast. That was not a Fluffy thing to do. And suspicious means that he thought something wasn't right. And when he stuck fast, he became very tightly attached. And there he is, all his quills sticking into the door. So his dad thinks he's a coat rack, hanging up his hat. He was even more convinced when he accidentally slept on his back and poked holes in the mattress. Oh no. A very unfluffy thing to do. So he was sure that he shouldn't be called Fluffy. When he tried to carry an umbrella, he knew the truth without a doubt. Fluffy definitely wasn't. Oh no, his poor umbrella. So, turn and talk with someone in the room with you. What has happened so far in the story? And do you think Fluffy was happy or unhappy? So, some of you might have said that so far in the story, Mr. and Mrs. Porcupine had a little boy, and they decided, instead of giving him a common name, to give him the name of Fluffy. And he was realizing more and more that his name didn't fit who he was. Because of his quills, because he was sticking to things, he didn't feel that he was very fluffy. And was he unhappy or happy? Right, I would have to say right now, he was pretty sad. He's pretty unhappy because all these things are not describing his name and who he is. And he's destroying his bed, and he's destroying umbrellas, and he's just extra, extra, extra spiky. So let's see what happens next. So he decided to become fluffier. Clouds are fluffy, he thought. I'll be a cloud. But he couldn't stay up. Oh no, Tree bent over. I know, pillows are fluffy, he said. I'll be a pillow. But when his mother sat on him, she was not pleased. Because if you know, quills are very sharp and they poke you, and he's like, ouch! So even the mother sat on him and got poked. She got poked. He tried soaking in bubble bath for 45 minutes, but he did not become fluffy. He became soggy. And soggy is really wet. And there's a very soggy porcupine in the tub. He tried whipped cream. He put a little on each quill. It was not easy. It took more than half a day. And remember, quills are those sharp spikes that are on. So each one on the porcupine, he put whipped cream on. But this did not make Fluffy fluffy. They should have named me Gooey, he sighed. Oh no, look at that. He's a giant ball of whipped cream, super sticky and gooey. He ate a lot of fluffy marshmallows. He rolled in shaving cream and feathers. He even tried to become a bunny. But the truth remained, Fluffy wasn't. So Fluffy tried all sorts of different things to become fluffier and still couldn't become fluffy. So try and talk with your partner or anyone in the room if you're wondering something so far in the story. What is something you may wonder? Maybe you wonder what's going to happen to Fluffy. Maybe you're going to wonder if Fluffy's going to change his name. Or maybe something else may happen. Lots of things to wonder about. Okay, we'll keep going. One afternoon, Fluffy set out for a walk, trying to think of ways to become fluffy. Before long, he met a very large rhinoceros. Whoa. Grrr, said the rhinoceros. I am going to give you a rough time. Fluffy didn't know what a rough time was, but he didn't like the sound of it at all. What is your name, small prickly thing? Asked the rhinoceros unkindly. Fluffy, said Fluffy. Uh-oh. Fluffy's going to be safe. Rough time is like a bad time, so not going to make things too nice. The rhinoceros smiled. He giggled. Then he laughed out loud. He rolled on the ground. He jiggled and slapped his knees. He roared with laughter. A porcupine named Fluffy, howled the rhinoceros. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, help! I just can't say it. I'm laughing so hard, said the rhinoceros. Oop, I think I skipped a page. Sorry, boys and girls. We'll go back a minute. Fluffy was embarrassed, but he tried to be polite. Sorry about that. And what's your name? He inquired. Ha! I just can't say it, giggled the rhinoceros. Hubert, suggested Fluffy. That is a name that begins with the sound, the H at the beginning. Ha! 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 Oh, help! I just can't say it. I'm laughing so hard, said the rhinoceros. Harold? Or maybe Herman? Asked Fluffy. No, gasped the rhinoceros. It's Hippo. Hippo? He's not a hippo. Hippo? A rhinoceros named Hippo? Fluffy smiled. He giggled. Then he laughed out loud. He jiggled and slapped his knees. He howled with laughter. A rhinoceros named Hippo, Fluffy cried. Now they're both laughing. It's awesome. A porcupine named Fluffy, a rhinoceros named Hippo. It was almost more than they could bear. Hippo and Fluffy rolled on the ground, giggling and laughing until tears came to their eyes. At last they lay exhausted on the ground. Frozen. Oh, from that time on, they were the best of friends. So they exhausted means they were really, really tired. And they were the best of friends in the end. They realized they had something in common. And Fluffy didn't mind being Fluffy anymore, even though he wasn't. So, thinking about the end of our story, you can talk to the person in your room about why Fluffy wasn't happy with their name, and then also what Fluffy and Hippo have in common. So, who knows what Fluffy and Hippo had in common? That's right. Fluffy and Hippo both had names that really didn't fit their characteristics and what they looked like. But they realized in the end that their names made each other laugh, and that made people feel good, and that it was okay. That was something that worked out for them. And then also, I want you to think about what are some other things that make them the same. So you notice that they were both kind of maybe unhappy about their names and what they were being called. But then in the end, they both worked out the fact that they gained a friend from it. And that's something else that they had in common, was that they each made a new friend. So very, very important. I hope you all enjoyed reading the story with me today, A Porcupine Named Fluffy. It is a really fun book and great, and it just goes to show that no matter what you might have in common with someone or not in common with someone, it's always great to find things you can share with one another and talk about and make new friends. So that's a really great story showing how new friendships can be made. All right, I hope you have a wonderful summer, kindergartners. I will miss doing videos with all of you, and you're going to be super awesome first graders next year. So enjoy your summer. Stay cool. Stay safe. Have fun. Big hugs. See you soon. Bye.